global AI spending is projected to hit $2.52 trillion by 2026. And that is as per the study shared by Gartner. So companies are spending more than ever, and most have nothing measurable to show for it. Last year, without companies are calling, last year, companies were actually calling these as AI investment. Today, they are not AI investment. They are expensive subscriptions dressed up on a large language model interface. And now the market is penalizing this. So $285 billion wiped from software valuation in early 2026. If you have heard about SaaS Apocalypse, that was a term that was used there. So software stocks lost over 20% of their value, $1 trillion in market cap. 82% of companies are reporting, cutting SaaS and IT products vendor without who are not able to demonstrate returns, and that was shared as per the article in Forbes. So, is this a model, architecture, or deployment problem? Are builders treating AI-powered products like SaaS, plugging in a wrapper and waiting for ROI that never arrives? And specifically for industrial environments where complexity is highest, and what and the problem is, can these AI wrappers will be built in a way so that it can become more defensible for the builders? So we are addressing this through our session, and there are three segments as part of the session. The first segment is the icebreaker: what's the SaaS apocalypse and why are process-rich environments breaking? Second segment is where does real opportunity live in industrial complexity? What creates a moat? Which sectors and bottlenecks matter most? Third segment is about playbook. We are going to discuss concrete steps, stack deal structures, use case prioritization, competitive strategy, etc., that can help you build a playbook. So let me begin. Let me do the introduction and invite the speakers that we have today. We have Dr. Sudhin Baraukar, Global AI and Quantum Engineer Advisor, the co-founder at Deep Tech Startups and ex-SBI, Barclays, IBM, GE. Sudhin, welcome to the session.
Thank you.
And we have Dharmendra Kapur. And Dharmendra Kapur is also an advisor on AI, digital transformation, and business transformation too. He was a former CEO of MindSprint and BuilderSoft. Dharmendra, good to have you again with us in this session.
Thank you, Vish. Very happy to be here.
Thank you. So let me begin with the first segment, which is about the icebreaker. And let me ask Dr. Sudhin before we get Dr. Sudhin, before we get into what's breaking, let's establish the foundation. What exactly is an AI wrapper? What is an AI native model? And why is AI fundamentally not a SaaS product, not plug and play in the way most organizations are treating it? So also, if you could like to, if you'd like to talk about yourself in a short, feel free to share your profile too with the audience.
Yeah, great to be here. So I'm Dr. Sudhin Baraukar, have been in the IT space for nearly 3 decades, have been head of innovation at large organizations like State Bank of India and Barclays, and have also been with IBM and GE in the US. Right now, I'm an AI and deep tech advisor and engineer. So great. So I think this very interesting times that we live in. One single prompt has triggered off a $5 trillion investment in hardware, software, chips, data centers, models, tools, libraries. So coming to the context of what is exactly a AI wrapper, in my view, it is like a thin layer, a thin interface layer connected to the frontier model, the foundation models like your GPT or Gemini or Grok via the API calls, right? So through this, it kind of uses the LLM, right? The power of the LLM, and then at the same time, you can then get your prompt back as a JSON. You can then add a UI to it, and this is what a AI wrapper does. Now, in an AI native model is essentially the next big thing that is happening, where organizations are building SLMs, right? Small language models specific to their use cases, to maybe their internal data and databases, what they already hold, or maybe existing frameworks, right? So that's where the AI native models come in, which use the power of the LLMs for scale, and for deep dive, they use the AI native SLMs for the deep dive analysis. Okay. So I think why AI is fundamentally not really a SaaS product is because AI is all completely model based, right? SaaS is what I would say at level one, would be the business rules and intent. But from an AI perspective, what you have as level two is the reasoning, level three is the decisioning, all completely model based, updated, on a daily basis or probably over the air basis. So that's the big difference between the SaaS and the AI as a service model.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhin. I think that's set the context for this session. Let me go to DK, DK. We talked about SaaS Apocalypse earlier, and we had a discussion as well in this regard. IT companies and AI wrapper builders are, currently feeling it hardest, there's a hard time for them. But you have lived through ERP, cloud, and digital disruption. So, what is the parallel here, and what does the history of those cycles tell us about who survives and who doesn't?
Yeah, I think to some extent, Vish, the answer lies in what Dr. Sudhin described, that AI is not about SaaS. It is absolutely going to be very, very different from the historical model of, wrapping the applications. If you look at the way it has happened is that when the first level of wrapping happens, it is always where the usability is kept into the consideration. Okay, and the value comes into how you access the system. You build the interface and you give the usability, and you access the underlying systems and provide what customer wants to see. So from that perspective, ERP, for example, did that with a lot of old processes and try to bring that wrapper around that. Now, that only provides limited access and limited innovation. Okay, if I had to call it innovation, then it provides very, very limited innovation. But then the real question comes is that who is going to re-architect it? Because it is not about really throwing the interfaces around and putting a good wrapper around it. It would look like that you're trying to put a car engine to a bull cart. Okay, in the first acceleration itself, the whole thing will fall apart. And that is where the challenge was, that after the first acceleration of providing the interfaces, it fell apart because the engine below that was not able to align well with the speed of the cart. Okay, and then you had to re-architect that. So then the whole re-architecture started happening, whether you call it at the time of the ERP or you call at the time of the SaaS, because SaaS came on top of the ERP. And initially they also tried to look at how an ERP can behave like a SaaS. Okay. So then they really started looking at how do we redesign, re-architect the core architecture and bring that into the place. But with AI, the third dimension that even Dr. Sudhin talked about is the native intelligence need that comes into the play. Okay. Now, all that wrapping and everything is actually broken by AI. It is exposed by the AI because unless until you build the intelligence, you are not able to really bring about the value that is required. And the value now is all about judgment plus the learning loops, because it is always learning new systems that continue to look at what is happening, learn from the background, learn from the historical, at the same time provide the new elements into find out what are going to be the decisions for the future. Okay, so the value comes there, and that is where the now there is a need of native intelligence. The harsh truth is that historical wrapping is different from AI enablement. Okay, historical piece worked well when the system was static, okay, when the logic was simple, okay, and when the underlying systems were stable, okay, and the problem was static. But with AI, everything is broken from that mold that used to work earlier with the ERP or the SaaS. And now we need to really look at that how it doesn't just execute, but it is able to decide, it is able to predict, and it is able to adapt going forward. And I think that is where the issue comes. In my opinion, I think the one hidden question that you had was that who will survive? In my
Yeah.
opinion, people who are able to re-architect the core, who are able to own the data and the decision loops. Decision is very, very core component into that, because earlier we talked about the IT assets, but not decision as an asset. But now we need to really look at what is the decision that is required, and can we look at from that context. And last but not the least would be that how do we collapse the process hierarchy that have, or process latency that has existed in the ERP or in the SaaS. Okay, the process will have to change. Those are the ones who will survive, and casualties will be with the people who are only looking at the interfaces, or who are only looking at the aggregation without getting into the depth. They are the one who will be the casualties.
Yeah, that's a great point. So when we look at, say, for process-rich environments, manufacturing plants, energy grids, chemical facilities, what is specifically breaking when you apply the wrapper philosophy? And I'm sure, at the moment, since we talked about most of the discussion that has actually happened within the IT circles, while the real industries were getting sidelined, or they're so if we look at the industrial environment, what do these environments demand that the wrapper model was never designed to deliver? So that's a question to both of you. If you could share any, real scenario between, what can be worth maybe very general observations.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Sudhin, and I will chip into it. Yeah.
Dr. Sudhin, you are on mute.
Yeah, the entire AI wrapper model, the foundation models, the SLM models, and the entire stack is a very, very good accelerated playground for large industrial conglomerates, right? I'll just give you an example of the complexities that we face in manufacturing and industrial conglomerates, right? There are more than 10,000 function points in large automakers. There are more than 15,000 function points in large industrial conglomerates, right? So this complexity can be best addressed through the AI models, right? That's number one. Number two is that today, with the help of AI, the data richness that these organizations can sit on, right? 15,000 function points, 2,000 live production databases, more than 5,000 source systems, right from your sensor data, IoT data, plant flow data. All this is a very, very good base that the organization can start using the reasoning, using the data science, the statistics, the algos in one model itself, right? So everything now becomes integrated, and the best part is that this entire AI with the Gen AI and the stack, which is your RAG and data pipelines and your knowledge graphs, uh, and the related stack, right? You are now able to build neural networks. You're able to build OSs, which can which can become make all these that's what I believe the future gen is going to be: automated, autonomic, agentic, and self-audited platforms, right? So this is a very, very good base for industrial, data rich industrial uh, you know uh, uh, companies to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just to add to that,
yeah, yeah, DK.
Wish, the mistake that a lot of time that we are doing under this umbrella of wrapper paradox is that we are trying to think that as a software problem. That environment is not a software problem. Okay, it is not about discrete transactions. It is about continuous systems. It is about time sensitivity. It is about safety is very critical, because you would have heard that how systems are hallucinating based on what we are actually connecting it with the models, and we are trying to get the decision, and that is actually based on the hallucination, and we find that the safety barriers are completely broken when we take that decision and put that into the act. I think we need to look at 3 or 4 elements in order to address that. One is that how do we move away from sequential thinking to the real time reality? Okay, the real time reality is going to be very, very crucial, because your business context continues to change, your data continues to change, and your technology context is also changing all the time. So keeping all that in mind, are we taking a decision in the real time or not? Because if we are not, with the wrapper technology, we are only going to get the laggard intelligence or lagged intelligence, rather than getting a real-time intelligence. And that will, of course, lead to the wrong decisions. The second piece is the data fragmentation versus system coherence. Okay, wrappers are going to pull the data from the ERP or the SCADA or the MES or various other systems. Okay, they do not understand the contextual coupling that comes along with it. And the result is that AI will see the data, whereas the plants also have various other elements that are called relationships. Okay, how things are working with each other will not be seen if AI is only looking at the data, because there has been a lot of discussion. In fact, I have been also bringing up that discussion, that can we create a metadata and work on top of that. But metadata will provide you only the data. Okay, it is a wrapping technology that we are trying to build, but unless until we go deeper into it, understand the relationships, impact on each other, we will not be able to understand how it is going to have impact on the intelligence. Then comes the stateless intelligence, because wrapping provides you the intelligence, okay, that is stateless. Whereas we need that, what is the memory of the system that is there in front of us, and can we
Yeah.
use that? Okay, there is so much of discussion that is happening, human in the loop. Okay, so the question is that, do we need to really look at only human in the loop, or we need humans to supervise the exceptions? Do we record the exceptions? Do we find the process changes with respect to the exception, so that exception doesn't remain an exception in the future? Okay, and your decision intelligence becomes better and better. So I think those are some of the 4 or 5 things that are required in order for us to get the right technology in operations, rather than trying to create a wrapper on top of what already existed, which was
Yeah.
not meeting the requirement of intelligence that was required by the companies.
Thanks, EK. So I'll quickly wrap this icebreaker session, and now let's diagnose where the real opportunities lie in the industrial complexity. So moving to segment 2, where the real opportunity lives and what it takes to build there. So let me ask this question to Dr. Sudhin. So you have deployed AI in banks and financial institutions, and now you've been training. The industrial clients and process rich clients in terms of AI deployments. Even to some extent, I believe Gen AI models too. So inside these process rich environments. So where's the real opportunity hiding inside these process rich complexity? And what kind of AI models actually work here from what you've seen and built?
Yeah, I mean, we've had tremendous success in banks. I was head of innovation at State Bank of India, where we built our YONO platform for autonomic digital lending. We also transformed the entire core banking, which is the most advanced in the world at 1.5 billion transactions a day, today serving more than 500 million. customers and more than 700 million accounts. So we've been very, very successful, but keep note of it that, BFSI is now becoming, everything is virtual, right? There's not much of physical, when is the last time you went to a branch, right? Or interacted with a relationship manager, right?
Correct. Yes.
So the opportunity for AI, right, and the wrappers, as you rightly mentioned, the native models, the SLMs, is 100x for a manufacturing industrial complexity base, right? Why? Because they are sitting on tons of data, right? And for them, it's all these physical assets, right? So some of the use cases that are very, very helpful is the predictive maintenance across all these, because now suddenly manufacturing, smart manufacturing, all these industrial complexes, processes have become mission critical systems, right? So it's all the more important for to use the AI. For AI does a very, very a marvelous job at predicting the failure, right? So for predictive maintenance, we call it now prescriptive maintenance, where even the AI nudges, recommendations are given along with the prescriptive maintenance. So that's a very, very big advantage. All right. So you don't have to go for emergency fixes, which are much more costly. It'll lead to unplanned downtime. All right. So that's one. Then the entire supply chain for the industrial processes, that's a very, very complex piece of it. And ever since COVID, and even before that and after that, the entire supply chain collapsed as a result. I remember some of the automakers could not ship their cars because they didn't have the chips. One of the automakers shipped their cars without the chips and told the customer that when we get the chips, we will figure out, you go to the dealer and we'll fix the chips for you, right? So I think, these are the very, very good use cases where you want to, the entire autonomic vehicles, autonomic robots, autonomic guided vehicles, right, to improve the efficiency. I was just reading that Ford, the US giant automaker, has got to have these robots which can completely, build the entire car in 35 seconds flat, right? And all these, robots are today not updated through a, 3-month fix, right? They're updated on the over the air, right? In real time or near real time, right? So every day the robot itself is learning and adding to the data richness, processing the data richness and doing all this, great work. So I think I believe it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, especially for the industry, which has done great things in the past, but on the digitization, on the digital 4.0, they can now accelerate their AI journeys using the wrappers and the SLMs and the LLMs and the reasoning and the autonomic decision making, and become very, very successful.
Yeah. So in fact, you mentioned a couple of areas like preventive maintenance could be one area that can be looked at. In fact, I was having a discussion with Vijay Sabarwal some days back. He is also joined here. There was also a conversation where you mentioned, there's a couple of areas that can be also looked at, primarily in terms of, say, product development, or areas in terms of, say, even like when we look at these process-rich industries, you also have a concept of digital twin, wherein digital twin, of course, may be different, but some of these computer vision and digital twin can also be kind of integrated with AI, so as to make the operations more, streamlining the entire operations from that perspective.
No, that's a great point, because the sometimes the misconception or the feeling is that AI is only for the technologists and the IT folks, right? And then they will come to us and then we'll figure it out. No, I think the AI, the Gen AI, all of the deep tech is for the entire organization. We call it AIX, right? So the new use cases are for R&D, like can
Yeah.
industry make smarter material, right? Can
Mm.
they build up these hydrogen ecosystems? I mean, the
Mm.
output of a hydrogen uh, engine is water and water vapor.
Mm.
That's how beneficial it is to the entire world, especially for a country like India, and we are just uh, you know figuring out how to pay for a higher energy bill, which keeps spiraling up, right?
Yeah.
So I think all these, the manufacturing, the design, the R&D, all
Mm.
these, the quality assurance, all these very, very important, pieces of the industrial complex, right?
Mm.
They can now start building up these SLM models, right? Take a deep dive. I have built up a model for the rattling doors, where I have used AI, quantum, and Fourier transform to, because each part of the door zone will emit a different frequency, right? The hinge,
Mm.
the lever, all that. So I think it's AIX, right? And there is not no option. Take the shot. Fail fast if you have to fail. But this is the future, and this is the one way to conquer the world.
Great. You mentioned AIX. So why AIX and why not AI plus?
AIX, the X stands for everything, right? Because and also we are looking at future, organizations,
Mm.
which is going to be completely connected, right? The entire organization. For example, previously I worked in General Electric. At our peak, we had more than 700,000 employees worldwide. That was the size of
Mm.
G. Even now, it must be more than 500,000, right? So here you're going to have a enterprise, a industrial complex, where everybody is going to get connected. It's going to be like a neural network where everybody is going to get connected. Every
Mm.
event, process, function is going to be analyzed, reasoned, and there's going to be decision made on it, which is going to be completely data driven and
Mm.
data science driven.
Got it. Okay. So now let's move to the. So there's a clarity in terms of the opportunity, but let's move to the timing question. And so, DK, if we look at the industrial sector that has long been considered hard to penetrate, legacy systems, long sales cycles, missing domain expertise, or especially when they kind of interact with. So you might have also seen in your corporate journey. So there's always a requirement that someone, um, the partners who are going to work with the company should have domain expertise too. But at the same time, from India perspective, these are also conservative bias as compared to other players in the market. So what has shifted in the last say 18 months or so that makes this the right moment for AI first founders and IT companies to move decisively into this space?
Yeah. So I think as far as if we had to really look at what is shifting, in my opinion, every element that you talked about is shifting, be it
Hmm.
legacy systems, be it the sales cycle. Then you
Hmm.
talked about the domain expertise. That is very, very interesting point, and I will bring that into the discussion. And of course, the buyer. A lot of
Hmm.
time we think that the buyer is very conventional in Indian context, but I think buyer in every geography is very, very conventional, and things are
Hmm.
changing actually in each single element. Let us look at legacy system, for instance. You would have heard a lot about, the Claude model will be able to translate the old COBOL into Java very, very quickly. And
Hmm.
suddenly
Yeah.
everybody started talking about that. I think it is going to be end for mainframes.
Hmm.
But well, there were models or there were translation engines earlier as well, but it did
Hmm.
not happen. Okay. In my opinion, these models will be able to translate, but they will not be able to transform. For transformation, there is a much more depth that is required. Okay, I had posted it on LinkedIn that why it is not going to be end of mainframe, and an audience here can actually go there and look at that because it is a longer discussion. But it is not only true for mainframe, but many of the other legacy systems as well. Now, when it comes to the sales cycle for the IT industry and others, the real challenge that I'm seeing today is that knowledge is in abundance. Okay, whatever that you want to put in your proposal or have a discussion with the client and want to research on the particular topic, you can do it within minutes because now you have the models that are able to throw all the knowledge in front of you. But the real difference is, where are we going to bring the differentiation? Okay, the differentiation is going to come with the context. If you do not have the context of the problem that the customer is facing or their business is facing, and what is the decisions that they want to take, and how does their decision change with each context, if you do not know that, you will not be able to bring the differentiation. Every vendor, every service provider will look the same because they all are on top of the model on the same knowledge that exists and that is given to everyone in abundance. Okay. Now that context comes from the domain expertise. Okay. Earlier also, this had been a major discussion in the IT companies that how do we bring up the domain expertise to have the right discussion with the client. But I believe it was not expertise at that time, it was domain appreciation. But now there will be real domain expertise required because when we are talking about the business context, we need to understand that, marry it with the technology, and then go in front of that. We can't take just a technology horizontal discussion and say that this is what we know very well. You let us know the problem and we will be able to provide you the right solution. So we worked from ground zero at that time. That time is over. Now you need to take the experimentation head on and go with that context built into your proof of concept in front of the client and take the discussion from there. So it is not from 0 to 1 discussion now, it is from 1 to n that we had to take it up with the client. Okay. And last but not the least, I think you talked about the conventional buyers. I think buyer behavior is almost everywhere in the same way. It just depends upon that what is the level of investment that they can do in order to take the experiments and bring about the technology into their play. But they have to really look at very, very clearly that now they will need to own much, much more than what they need to be owning earlier. A lot of time customers said that I want to implement ERP. Okay, you guys are the consultant, please come and help me. I don't think that is going to work anymore. If client doesn't know what they need, then they are not going to get what actually is required by their business. And I think this is a big change that is going to happen in the relationships between the buyers and the provider. And the buyers need to know what is my first mile, what is my last mile, and what I need to do in the middle. And I again posted on that also because when I'm having that conversation with some of the clients, I'm finding that they have not even done the assessment on their readiness for AI enablement. I call it as AI activation index. Okay. If they have not done that, then that would mean that they are trying to find a shop in the mall without having a map in their hand, without really knowing where they stand. Okay. At the same time, if they don't know last mile, they will be able to implement AI, but they will not be able to put that decision into the action. And that means the business or end consumer will not get the benefit of artificial intelligence that have been implemented, whether it is an experiment, proof of concept, or other solutions, but they will not be able to get the real benefit. So first mile and the last miles are very, very critical in order for them to define how they succeed with their AI enablement. And I think that is something that is going to be very critical. A lot of systems will be required to be rewritten. process will require to be rewritten because they will not remain sequential. They will become more, simultaneous processes and probabilistic processes. And if that happens, there's going to be a lot of rewrite that is going to happen on the existing systems that are there with the businesses. So whoever is thinking that suddenly the jobs will disappear and all that, they are not going to disappear. They will change definitely, but they're not going to disappear because there is a newer work and different work is going to come into the play.
So you mentioned about a specific assessment or the gap assessment, which is what is that? I couldn't. So if you could share some more light on that assessment that you talked about.
So we can go and do AI readiness assessment for the client.
Readiness assessment, right? Okay.
By looking at what do they have. The traditional approach that we always applied was that we looked at their systems, we looked at their databases, we looked at their infrastructure, we looked at the relationship between each one of those and tried managing that as a portfolio. But the new element that has come into the play is the decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody worked from the decision backward. Everybody worked from the process backward, and that process was static. Okay.
Right.
But when it is a decision, we need to look at what is the criticality of the decision. What is the complexity of the decision? So depending upon the complexity of the decision, if you put 2 by 2 metrics, okay, complexity of the decision and then suitability of the system that is below there, okay, and if you draw that, then you can really look at where the real opportunity is. Earlier we were looking at in which industry that opportunity will be there. It will all depend upon what is the criticality of the decision, what is the complexity of the decision, what business context is changing, what technology context is changing, what data context is changing. All that needs to be played. And if that is required, we need to really look at what is ready for us today to be activated for AI.
Correct.
So rather than picking any use case and working with that, we need to really look at what is ready for doing that there. Okay. What is ready for AI, and then work on that, and what is required for making other use cases or other decisions or other processes to be AI enabled. So you need to create a roadmap and then follow that in the middle path in terms of whether developing new systems or changing existing systems. All that is possible, but it has to be in the structured fashion.
Got it. So in fact, there's very interesting question that has also come. So it's again from the perspective of AI readiness. So it's a question from Vijay. Just an observation. What is the kind of investment to be done in IT infra to get the AI going in a manufacturing universe? And if current IT annual expense is X, then X would be what for so-called mid-size manufacturing company? So how would you like to address?
I don't think we need to look at investments perspective to determine what it would take to do the AI readiness. It really depends upon that you want to just pick up one thread and start working with that. Okay. The AI readiness doesn't take too much of time. It may take, let's say, 8 to 10 weeks for a mid-tier company in order for us to really go and study their systems, study their decision process, have discussion with their business folks, bring business and technology on the same page. It may require 8 to 10 weeks to do that. Okay. But more important is that what is the top 3, 4, 5 decisions that we are going to work upon? Let's say that I want to do the forecasting of my sales for the next quarter. And I want to do it in such a way because it is very complex and we have so many products that get developed, so many colors and so many variants. I need to really estimate it correctly, keeping in mind what is the historical data and then how the customer preferences are changing going forward. Now, that may be just one decision. And then we need to look at from decision backward, what are the processes that are impacting it? What are the systems that are impacting it? Where the data is the data complete? Is the data of good quality? That assessment is required for one decision, for example. So we need to look at that. We pick up those decisions. We want to do all together, it can be done. At the same time, if you want to do that in pieces, that can be done in the pieces as well. So both possibilities are there, so that
Yeah.
you spend money where the real need is, rather than spending the money for which you are not even ready today.
Correct. So there's also one more element he talked about, which is the IT infrastructure. So I'm assuming that mid-sized company might have an IT infrastructure the already in place. So considering that assumption, what is that IT infra that we can talk about? So Dr. Sudhin, if you can share some light
Yeah.
from that perspective.
Yeah. So just on a lighter note, and it's a true note, I have made the largest investment in AI, and I have built the largest AI team in the world, and that compromises of me, myself, Sudhin, and AI. That's how large the team is, right? So I think it's not about the investment. I think the infrastructure, you've got a lot of options. You can use the LLMs, you can use clouds, you can use vibe coding tools, where you can
Mm,
build these AI applications and then use their cloud. So I think the investment is going to be there, but the trade off is going to be 100x value addition, economic value add, right?
mm,
So yes, there is going to be a little risk, but I think with the advent of AI as a service, with the advent of AI models, SLMs, wrappers, that that cost is, so you very smartly use the LLMs for the large scale kind of analysis or the reasoning, and then build your SLMs for deeper dive. In my view,
mm,
what I've developed and from my experience, the cost of a SLM is probably 1/10 or sometimes even 1/20th the cost of the LLM, right?
mm,
So this is how you do it. The point is that don't wait, right? We are living in
mm,
flux worlds, fast, liquid, universal, experimental. So you have to now train your mind. You have to
mm,
pre-train your mind, just as your GPT, which is a pre-trained transformer model. Everyone in the organization, right? Be it the
mm,
technical guys, the non-technical guys, the management guys, everybody in the organization has to pre-train their mind as to how
mm,
to leverage this AI for the big use cases, how to align it with your organization's vision, and just start, take the shot. My role in
yeah.
these large organizations was just to do innovation and transformation, fail, but fail fast, and take the shot and get it done. That's it. There was no other task I was assigned to.
That is true. So in fact, the cost can start from $20 to anyway to $2,000, but
Yeah,
it's not
yeah. Just to
it's
give you
not
a
that
benchmark.
costly to start.
Experimentation is going to be the key,
Yeah, just to
because
give you a benchmark, I have built a SLM like under, I've built an entire SLM like a neural network system, right? Like a network OS system for
Mm,
a automotive kind of a pilot
mm.
within $1,000. Within $1,000.
Okay.
That's it.
So yeah, there's a cost that we are talking about. One of the costs that I also read and heard from various founders is the data cost. So as you have more customers or more data consumption, then the cost of data is much higher than the cost of the initial infra. So that is a kind of paradox. So once you start using these models, and if the data consumption is very high, then the data generation and the consumption, that actually takes a lot of your cost. But yeah, that's once you start using these workflows and products. There's another question that has come from Ravi Shankar. Actually, it's more of an insight. And what Ravi is saying, that it's well said about the solution from a services perspective. But I'm from zoworks.ai. We have built an AI native product for SME, and live with 5 beta clients for manufacturing, construction, and service delivery with the process digital twin. So I like to know more about product opportunities rather than service, and happy to connect. So any insights in terms of the product opportunities in these sectors?
Yeah,
yeah, I think.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, as I said, manufacturing is a huge, right from the mid market to SME to large enterprises. There's a whole lot of manufacturing, predictive maintenance use cases. There is the entire neural network to be built, right? How to build these autonomic systems, connect them with the automation already in place. Some organizations have already got some layers of automation in place. For construction, again, huge from a product perspective, especially to get the scheduling done properly, how to accelerate your project timelines, right? Use AI for that. Use smart
Estimation
material.
for the estimation
Correct.
is also
Use
needed.
use a lot of smart material for your construction, right? So there's a whole lot of use cases, for AI. Best is don't look at AI just to replace your Excel sheet, right? Use AI for massive innovation. Use AI for automated, autonomic worlds. Use AI for smart material, smart manufacturing. That's where AI can really help you.
DK, you are also sharing some point.
No, I was just saying that very similar to what Dr. Sudhin has already said, that of course there are multiple opportunities that exist. I remember that we were discussing few other opportunities, whether it is on the maintenance side, or it is in the procurement side, or many other processes within the manufacturing. There are numerous possibilities, because manufacturing or any process heavy industry, okay, is going to be very, very lucrative from the opportunities perspective that we want to solve with the artificial intelligence. As I said
Yeah.
earlier, if you draw 2 by 2 matrix between the decision complexity and current system capability, you will be able to really look at in the top right quadrant and figure it out. That is the first thing that I need to resolve. And as
Yeah.
a product company, also for Ravi, to look at whether if you are solving those problems with your product that are coming into the top right quadrant, there is no reason why there will not be opportunities. And when you take the discussion, the clients should be able to jump onto picking that up, because they will be able to simplify their decision, they'll be able to improve their productivity, they'll be able to reduce costs, and many times they'll be able to increase the throughput of their products.
Yeah, makes sense. In fact, Ravi, if you could have, shared more information about what your product is and where actually it's fitting with these. So you did mention about digital twin, but I think maybe we can have a discussion later. So there's a question. There's also a comment from Nishant. Hello, everyone. When we discuss upon AI readiness, what should be core items by your lens that should be decision makers parameters, which makes us ready to go ahead with AI, and also security of those AI implementation. So I think there are a couple of questions as part of what Nishant has asked.
Yeah, so if you look at on the AI readiness perspective, as I said, that it begins from the decisions. Okay, it is how do you look at your technology portfolio in a way that you are able to determine the uh, decisions for which today you are ready to take it forward. Okay, I think that is what it begins, and there are about 30 35 parameters that we look at. We look at, as I talked about, 2 by 2 metrics. Only that is only one of the metrics, but then there are many other such comparisons that we do in order to really look at what is going to be the priority items when we do the readiness. There are about 35 parameters that we look at in order to go and determine. I'll take a simple discussion, for example, the process itself. If you look at the experience of most companies when they had implemented BPM, they realize the process that they think that they are going to use in comparison to the process they are actually using, these are two different things. And without their realizing, they have been taking so many exceptions. Year on year, they have been taking so many exceptions, but system continue to work on the static and predictive process. Whereas going forward, that is not going to work, because you will let the AI agent or system be able to take a decision depending upon what is the best probability at that point of time. Now, if the process has to change, we need to look at what is the quality of the process. Okay, and then we need to look at how do we go and change that. So there are multiple such processes, there are multiple such assets that we go and assess. So approximately 35 parameters. But the good part is that it is not something that you do it only for once. You can continue to use that data over the years in order to improve your readiness month by month, quarter by quarter, or year on year. Okay, you can continue to do that because whether we like it or not, everything is possible on earth if you have all the money, all the people, and all the time in your hand. But the problem is that these are the three constraints that every company has. They
Correct.
don't have
Absolutely.
talent available. They don't have always the time available. They don't have money as much as they need. So if everything is limited, then we need to look at within that limited resources, what is it we can deliver that can bring about the maximum impact. And that is what
Correct.
we do in AI readiness.
Yeah.
If
So,
at any point deeper discussion required, I can run through how we look at it and how it can provide you the visibility, because the core element is visibility. Many times when I go and ask the CIO, how many systems do you have? They don't have the answer. Where are you really investing the money in IT? Okay, they will have vague answer, but they will not have any clear answer on that I'm spending so much on infrastructure, so much on these systems. These are business critical system, I'm spending so much. These are my system of support, I'm spending so much. All that information and intelligence is not available. And when that
absolutely.
visibility is not there, then you are really walking with blinkers on your eyes, and we keep falling. I think so
Yeah.
that's
No, in fact,
the
yeah.
brief thing I can talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. You earlier talked about intelligence. There's too much of intelligence in the ecosystem now, but somewhere still that intelligence is broken. So I think that intelligence has to be brought together through
Correct.
certain approach, so that there's we can meet. But there's one more element to that question is about the security on that AI implementation. So Dr. Sudhin, you like to address that specific part on the
Yeah,
security?
actually, from my experience, the security for AI implementations is much better than what we have been doing with our legacy or existing IT implementation. The reason is that in the first time in history, that the guardrails you can build from day zero, right? Even with the
Hmm.
LLMs or SLMs you build, you're also informed about what is the data privacy and data protection. What is this data being shared for? So all these guardrails are already available, and that's very
Hmm.
good because you can also use SHAP. So suppose you use the Shapley additive
Hmm.
explainability kind of analysis. So in your
Hmm.
prompt, if you just type in use SHAP to explain model, you can also explain the model to the regulators, to the authorities.
Hmm.
You can also show that this model is not biased. There are no outliers, right? It is
Hmm.
fair and inclusive to society. So your AI, ethical and responsible AI, is already
Hmm.
baked in from day zero. So that's a
Hmm.
fantastic opportunity to rewire and redesign your next generation, security posture management or your security models. That's
Hmm.
really good, right? And
Hmm.
to the earlier question, like in terms of readiness, we've compiled so much of code and repositories and documents in all organizations, big and small.
Hmm.
You can start uploading your documents onto your prompt. You don't have to type anything. Your prompt will give you all what that model is, what the analysis is, what the nudge is, what the recommendation is, right? For
Hmm.
example, you can take your existing framework, your industry automotive framework, for example, and just put it on the prompt, and it'll give you the entire explainability, right? So I think
Hmm.
readiness is not to be asked, right? You have to be ready with this great tool we have, right? And there was I see another question on quantum from Bhagwan, right? So I think
Yes.
this AI plus quantum is what really is going to be very, very significant and 100x multiplier, because with AI, with Gen AI, you can do the reasoning, you can do the data science, you can do the decisioning. Now when you build your SLM, then with quantum, you can do the deep dive analysis, right? So I've done this signaling, I've built up the Fourier transform analysis. I've done the entire signal wave analysis, for the amplitude, pulse, frequency. Then I've also gone into deep kind of quantum, attention networks, right? I've used Hamilton kind of models. So I think this combination of AI, and so use AI for the LLM reasoning, right? And use quantum for the deep dive signaling, where if you start seeing everything as a signal, right? So all your function events, workspaces, everything can be, if you treat everything as a signal and then do the deep dive analysis, then you're well on your way to be the best AI quantum company in the world.
Okay, that's an interesting aspect of altogether. So quantum is actually amplifying the impact of AI in a very a significant higher impact. I believe Bhagwan might have got the response which he is looking for. In the meantime, we have got a response in terms of the security question. So, how security is addressed in this? Most critical sector clients are wary of trying AI, but it's inevitable. So that is true. But I think security, as you talked about, so it's been addressed, but it can be addressed from the environment, client environment perspective. We have a comment from Ravi Shankar. The process itself is modeled as a digital twin. So he talked about his product. So his I think so enterprises
More
can
like
plan.
a comment and not a question. And I agree with what Ravi is saying.
Yeah. So enterprises can plan next quarter or scaling up next financial year if the order doubles up, etc. So what if analysis for enterprises? What if analysis for enterprises at enterprises to scale? So I
Okay,
think that's the value proposition that he's bringing
yeah.
with his product. We have a follow-up question from Vijay. Would there be a human bias seen on AI implementation and execution? How would it be a neutral to human intervention, working or co-piloting?
Yeah. I think this is a good point or good question from Vijay. There definitely is a human bias. I'll give one example. It is a real example. In the US, a particular bank was looking at that when they were implementing AI, they realized that AI was taking a decision where it was offering loan more to a particular category of color of people rather than to the other. And it is because when humans were actually granting the loan, they had that bias in mind that particular set of people will not return their loan always. Okay. Now the bias is already there in the data. That human bias goes into the data. And when artificial intelligence is put on top of that, it is going to adopt that bias and going to act according to that. So most of the places now, this discussion about data audit, the regular data audit has to happen. Okay, that is the first time piece, and that is what I talked about when we were talking about AI readiness. That do we really look at any bias that exists within the data? Okay, and if it exists, do we need to correct that? But at the same time, it is not only once it is to be done, because there are two shifts that continue to happen, and they call it as a drift. So there is a data drift, and then there is a logic or context drift that continues to happen. Okay, because the data over a period of time will continue to build up, a new set of biases can also emerge within the data. Similarly, the context can continue to change. Today you are dealing in 5 products, tomorrow you are dealing in 7 products. Today you are in 3 geographies, tomorrow you are in 7 geographies. Okay. Similarly, multiple other things can continue to happen on the business context side. So the drift is always going to be there. And you need to always look at that if your agent or if your system is going lower on the quality with respect to these two drift, you need to figure out and measure when is the right time to do the audit on the data as well as on the logic or the context, and continue to refine that so that your agent is able to provide the decisions that are correct for the business. So yes, human bias, data bias, logic bias, context bias, all that is absolutely real, and one needs to continue to work on the portfolio in order to determine when do we go and alter it back to the refined set of data or logic or context, whenever we do the audit. So I think that is something that is very, very critical.
So yeah, that's a good point. So we have already reached 60 minutes, top of our session, but I'll quickly take two more questions that I have, and then we'll wrap up the session. So one question is, since we talked about these biases and the security layer, so when we are kind of building up, say, a model, especially or any product, like for any company, we had a couple of questions. So what combination of SLMs, vertical AI, proprietary data, domain depth, human in the loop, outcome ownership can create a mode that a frontier model update simply cannot simply cannot absorb? And that is because we have seen, like, how Claude rolled out co-work, how OpenAI rolled out Frontier. So some of these architectures could have a danger of risk. They may be kind of outshined by the frontier model. So how can we architect a product by bringing various combinations, so that the AI first founders or builders have the moat? Dr. Sudhin, quickly from your perspective.
Yeah, so I think I think it's some misconception that probably the models, the AI is more biased or hallucinates more. I think humans sometimes are more biased and hallucinate more than the AI models. So from my experience, if you put in the proper context, if you take in existing industry logical data models and frameworks, and bring in even more specific context to that particular industry or that particular region, right? For example, in the automotive, to get the correct data, I built a data pipeline which should fetch in the data from FADA and CAM and the VAHAN registration, right? So from an Indian context. So I think it's much easier and more beneficial and more auditable and more scientific and more data driven using AI for the model. Yes, there could be some drifts, as what as what was mentioned earlier, but those drifts can be monitored instantly. The model can be explained. You can also have the model explain the drift or the biasness, right? So with the help of context, with the help of current existing industry logical data models and frameworks, for example, for security, we can use the India DPDP 2023. We can also take the European-based GDPR, which has become the global standard, as a reference. And I've done that using AI and quantum, and brought out very, very good results for the model, right? So I think it's a good to just start the work. Make sure from day zero you have these guardrails and your company's policies, security policies, and your risk management policies, explained upfront. Get the stakeholder agreement from your chief risk officer and your from your legal department, and all that stuff. That's important.
Yeah, makes sense. So there's a comment and a question that has come from Rajiv Upadhyay. So Dr. Sudhin talked about mindset shift. Most AI transformation programs invest heavily in process redesign and upskilling, but very few audit the belief systems of the leadership layer driving those programs. So what does genuine leadership readiness look like when the real bottleneck isn't capability, it's conviction? Your take on that?
Yeah. No, I think, shall I answer that, Vish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is very, very interesting point that has been put by Rajiv, because a lot of time we want to do everything, but then our leadership is not in line with what
Yeah.
the action that we want to take as part of artificial intelligence or any technology program. And I always recommend the people that before even you begin, we talked about AI readiness, or we say co-piloting framework, or defining the cognition architecture, okay, for the AI.
Mm.
All that is fine, but the softer aspects of getting the leadership ready for the change is absolutely very, very critical. And I generally recommend always that to do a snack analysis. It is SNAC, which is the
Mm.
stakeholders. Understand who are the stakeholders, understand what are their needs, and understand what are the things that are going to change, alterables, and
Mm.
finally, what are the constraints? We talked about
Mm.
earlier the time availability, the money availability, okay, or people availability, talent availability. So there are going to be always some constraints. So these four need to be mapped, and that
Mm.
discussion needs to be taken up with the leadership team. Because once you begin with that, there has to be 100% commitment from the top. Only then it works. And I think
Yeah.
this question is absolutely point on, saying that I can do everything technologically, everything is possible. What if my business is not ready? Because if
Mm.
business doesn't have the leadership, or business doesn't have the ownership of the data and the context and the decisions, then things will fall apart in the last mile.
Mm.
And
Correct.
I
Yeah.
think this was very, very important question that Rajiv asked.
Thank you, DK. So I think he might have got that snackable response that you shared here. uh,
Snackable. Yeah.
yeah. So just of course, there are a couple of more questions. I'll quickly see if I can bring those. So one is see when the manufacturing company or the IT leader at the manufacturing company, they uh, they try to. So there are some questions. If we have to build, then what steps that we need to take, what kind of costing that we need to kind of take into consideration. So should industrial companies in India consider build versus buy when it comes to AI native models? And why should they seriously consider working with, say, startups or SMEs who are building vertical AI or AI native models rather than defaulting, to the larger step, to their own IT team? So what is that build versus buy scenario mean? How to address uh, that's that kind of question that normally the companies have.
No, I think you must partner with the entire ecosystem, right? Because there will be specialists in AI, quantum that can be leveraged, right? They could be startups or other organizations. So your entire, I mean, all organizations, especially large organizations and even mid-size, have a very huge partner
Mm.
ecosystem, right? And
Mm.
many of the time, from my experience, not naming the partners or nor the companies, right? We don't
Mm.
leverage. I mean, even they want to help and want you to innovate and transform, but we don't leverage it, right? Because
Mm.
when we do digital transformation, so we run the organization, so we run all the mission critical systems, and then on the emerging tech side, on the deep tech side, we then change the organization where we use all the deep tech to accelerate the change, right? So I think you
Mm.
must work in an ecosystem, right? It's now all become a network kind of there are no longer 9 or 10 layers of manufacturing or services or products, right, that we need to look at. It's all networked, right? Just like your LLM, which where they are apparently the hundreds of billions of the hyperparameters are apparently talking to each other autonomically
Yeah.
and giving you the best result, right? So I think you got to take it ahead. You need to have a separate, right, budget for the change, for the AI, for the models. From my
Mm.
experience, India is very good on the application digital transformation. We are not very good
Mm.
build the models, and also let the rest of the world build the models, right? We may or may not have the risk appetite or the money to do that, but we are very good on
Mm.
the application. So use those models to
Mm.
transform your applications, right? So that's what we are very good at, and stick to that. That will also reduce
Yeah.
your cost, and
Yeah.
also make sure that you are focusing on the kind of country strength, because even the resources, the workforce and all are trained, mostly on the application side, to make them R&D guys, and to make, build all these models and all will, take some time, right? We'll
Yeah.
get there, but, focus on your, India context strength, which is basically application digital transformation.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhin. And quickly, because you talked about that, the larger partners who bring that capability. So when you have these kind of capable partners who have their existing relationship, whether it's a cloud partners or hyperscalers, and they have not only existing relationship but also deep pockets and global delivery muscle. So, what is that specific strategy a smaller, faster AI first company can execute that a larger platform structurally cannot? And how do they use that advantage before the window closes? DK, if you could quickly address that.
Yeah, I think it is pretty much same as what happened during the digital, okay, where we said that there are companies who are running the old system and they're trying to make it become digital, whereas there were digital born company or born digital companies that came up, and they were very very quick with the new models of doing the business. For example, in the e-commerce side, okay, during the COVID we saw that suddenly so many companies emerged because there was a need to sell online, okay, to sell their products online. And that is absolutely very very critical, that we saw a change during COVID time, during digital transformation. Same is going to happen with the artificial intelligence also. Okay, there are going to be traditional companies or the companies who are well established. They definitely have deep pockets, but just having the deep pockets solves only one dimension on the constraint side.
Yeah.
Okay, because you need to also really look at that when you have deep pockets, you also are carrying a lot of baggage on your shoulders. You have existing clients and they are going to take time to change. Okay, you have an existing revenue, you will have to look at how do you cannibalize your existing revenue and go for the newer services, newer offerings and newer products. Okay, you will have to look at that. So multiple such aspects will have to look at, and that's the reason the organization that is an elephant organization, that means it is a very large organization, it is going to move slow, but it is going to move. It is not that it is not going to move. Okay. Whereas the AI native companies will be very quick to come up with their models, will be able to come up with their, solving the problems. They will be working only on one specific problem for one or two clients and will be able to come up with that, and will know that how do they go and solve that for an ecosystem. Okay. What they solved for client or two client, how do they now solve it for the ecosystem? And suddenly they will be seen as a one who are the new age companies. So I think
Correct.
that
Yeah.
is going to play what has played before multiple times. So it is not going to be different this time also. So we need to continue to watch for the new age companies. That is where God gives us the level playing field. Okay, for the newer business to come up, become very very valuable and relevant for the new age. And I think that is where these new providers will emerge and will give a
Yeah.
good competition to the larger players as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And thank you so much. So, thank you, Sudhin, Dr. Sudhin and DK. Thank you for keeping this specific and grounded throughout the session. We had so many questions that came from the audience, and I'd like to thank everyone who joined us live today, shared their comments, and asked great questions. We truly appreciate your engagement on this session. So for the builders who are watching, from my personal opinion, there are a couple of checkpoints which you could probably have when you are kind of build on. So one is, of course, and these are also on the base of the discussion that we had. So define the outcome before you define the model. Second is your architecture and data is the product. So treat it that way. Third is do not go to the production until you can explain every output. So you need to kind of assess the scenario and where your product can create impact. Fourth point is pilot scope and production scope are not the same problem, so they are different problem altogether. And lastly is the pricing, which is price for outcomes and not for excess. So with this note, I'll wrap up this session. And our next 2020X Vision session is on 23rd April. Is AI rewiring enterprise procurement? Who really wins, buyers, sellers, or the platforms? So we'll share the link of that session here so that you can register for that session, and we'll see you on 23rd April. And this is part of the 2020X Vision series. The replays are available on LinkedIn and YouTube. Share if it added value, and follow the pages for updates. And all of us are reachable on LinkedIn, even DK, Dr. Sudhin, myself. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any follow-up questions. See you at the next one. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, everyone.